Machiavelli knew men don't fall because of enemies. They fall because of lust. Lust blinds, weakens, and makes kings crawl like beggars. You won't see it coming. It won't feel like a threat, but it'll ruin empires faster than war, because a man who can't control his desire will never control the world. Why do the strongest men throw away empires for a moment of desire? Why does lust turn conquerors into slaves? The answer is simple. Lust is the most silent weapon against men. It doesn't scream. It seduces. It doesn't attack. It invites. And before you know it, the throne is empty, and the man who ruled millions now kneels to one. In this first part, I'll take you through how lust weakens the mind, kills discipline, and destroys power, and how Machiavellian coldness is the only antidote. Because if you don't conquer lust, lust will conquer you. Lust weakens discipline. Lust isn't just about desire, it's about losing your edge, your clarity, your time. You've seen it before. The guy who is grinding, focused, disciplined, then he starts chasing someone, and suddenly his goals fall to the side like clutter. Lust doesn't knock you out like a punch. It's a slow erosion. It steals your mornings of momentum, replaces them with late-night texts and emotional roller coasters. Machiavelli warned, a ruler who cannot control his own appetite will never control a kingdom, because discipline isn't just a habit, it's a boundary, and lust loves to break boundaries. That's why the strongest men protect their attention like it's gold, because once lust hijacks your mind, it's not just about who you're chasing, it's about what you're no longer chasing. Discipline dies in distraction, and lust is the most beautiful distraction of all. Lust makes you predictable. When a man is ruled by lust, you can read him like a children's book, page by page, step by step. You already know what he'll say, what he'll do, where he'll go. Machiavelli would say, the moment your enemy can predict your next move, you're already lost. And lust makes your moves obvious. The warm smile, you chase it. The flirty text, you respond instantly. The promise of pleasure, you drop everything. This is why so many powerful men fall. Not to war, not to rivals, but to someone who simply knew what buttons to press. Lust turns a sharp mind into a slave to reaction. And here's the dark part. People use that predictability. They lure you, trap you, and once they have your patterns, they own your next step. Power requires mystery. Lust turns you into a puppet everyone sees coming. Lust turns leaders into slaves. It's brutal but true. Some of the greatest rulers in history didn't fall by sword or strategy. They fell in bed. You can lead armies, you can build kingdoms, you can have men chant your name in streets. But the moment lust controls you, you stop leading. You start chasing. Lust doesn't knock you down all at once. It chips away at your backbone. First, a little distraction, then a compromise, then an obsession. You justify bad decisions because she wouldn't like it. You let standards slide because you don't want to lose her. You give your time, your mind, your power, just to keep desire alive. And now, you're no longer the master. You're a servant. Worse, a willing one. This is why Machiavelli didn't warn you about armies. He warned you about attachments, because nothing enslaves a man faster than the illusion that he's in control of his own lust. But he isn't. And once lust takes the throne in your mind, the crown on your head means nothing. Lust breeds betrayal. Lust doesn't just destroy you from the inside, it invites betrayal from the outside. See, when lust takes hold, you stop seeing people clearly. You project fantasies. You assign loyalty where there is none. And in doing so, you let snakes into the palace. History repeats this pattern like clockwork. Kings gave titles to lovers. Generals trusted seductresses. Friends turned enemies when a woman entered the picture. It's not because women are the enemy. That's a lazy conclusion. It's because lust shuts down the part of your brain that detects danger. You ignore red flags. You excuse manipulation. You surrender secrets, not because someone earned them, but because you're addicted to how they make you feel. Betrayal, then, isn't just an attack. It's the price you pay for placing desire above discipline. So no, lust won't stab you in the back. It'll hand the knife to someone else and make you beg them to use it. The truth is, lust isn't pleasure. It's chains. It doesn't free you. It binds you, not with ropes, but with invisible impulses, thoughts that circle your mind, urges that bend your will. See, a man thinks he's in control because he chose to chase pleasure. But the moment he can't say no, the moment he needs it to feel whole, he's already lost. You don't need to be broke to be a servant. You just need to be mastered by something that owns your time, your focus, your soul. And lust? It's the most polite prison there is. It comes smiling, it comes sweet, but every time you give in, it tightens the leash. That's why Machiavelli's warning is brutal, but true. The man who cannot master desire is already a servant, no matter how high he stands. And that is the truth most men will never hear until it's too late. Lust destroys wealth through recklessness. You don't need to gamble in a casino to lose your empire. All it takes is lust. You think it's just desire, but look closer. Lust rewires your brain. It trades logic for impulse, vision for dopamine, legacy for one night. And when that shift happens, you stop building, you start chasing. I've seen men throw money at women just to feel powerful. But here's the twist. The moment you spend to impress, you've already lost power. You're now dancing for attention. You've become the performer, not the ruler. Machiavelli said, men should be either courted or crushed. But lust makes you the one being courted, and you pay for the show. Lust-driven choices look harmless. The luxury gifts, the weekend escapes, the second home you can't afford. For her. But they stack up, not just in money, but in distraction. You lose focus. You bleed wealth, not from one cut, but 1,000 tiny ones. Wealth is built with discipline. Lust devours it with appetite. And here's the truth no one tells you. You can either grow your empire or feed your cravings, not both. Lust clouds judgment. You ever wonder why some of the smartest men make the dumbest decisions? It's not lack of intelligence. It's not pressure. It's lust. When desire takes over, logic disappears. You stop seeing clearly and start seeing only what you want. You ignore red flags. You overlook manipulation. You justify nonsense just to keep the pleasure alive. Lust whispers, it's different this time. But it never is. The pattern is ancient. Kings falling to mistresses, warriors dying for beauty, rulers making peace deals just to stay in someone's bed. Look around today. Same story. Men risking careers for office affairs, blowing fortunes chasing someone who never cared. You think you're in control, but lust is driving. You're just the passenger. When a man is driven by lust, he doesn't make choices. He makes excuses. He calls weakness love. He calls distraction connection. He calls chaos chemistry. And all the while, his empire crumbles. Not with a bang, but with soft sighs and blurred vision. Here's the truth. Lust doesn't just cloud your judgment. It hijacks it. And if you're not careful, it won't just take your mind. It'll take everything. Lust creates dependency on others' approval. Let's be honest. Most men chasing lust aren't chasing pleasure. They're chasing validation. They don't want the woman. They want to feel wanted. They want her attention, her approval, her praise. Because deep down, they don't approve of themselves. And that's the trap. The moment your self-worth depends on someone else's eyes, you're no longer a man. You're a performer. You start changing who you are, what you say, how you act, just to stay in favor, just to get one more compliment, one more nod, one more night. It's not love. It's not strength. It's not even connection. It's addiction to being seen. And that need to be seen, to be desired, will make you do things that betray your mission, your values, even your soul. Machiavelli would have said, the man who needs approval is already conquered. Because he no longer leads, he follows. Not strategy, not discipline, but the unpredictable winds of another person's attention. Here's the truth. Lust makes you dependent on the mirror someone else is holding, and the day they stop reflecting you back, you disappear. Lust fuels addiction and escapism. Lust starts as a thrill, but it doesn't stay there. Over time, it becomes something darker, a way to escape yourself. Bad day, scroll for dopamine. Lonely night, swipe, text, chase. Stressed, open that tab, watch that screen, numb the edge. Lust becomes a refuge, not from the world, but from your own reflection. Because here's the truth. When a man lacks purpose, lust becomes his default distraction. When he doesn't have a mission to wake up for, he'll wake up chasing pixels and empty attention. And addiction follows close behind, not just to sex or porn, but to that fleeting feeling of being alive. That's the most dangerous kind of addiction, the one that looks harmless, but slowly kills your edge. You stop creating, you stop growing, you stop becoming dangerous. Why? Because lust soothes you, just enough to avoid fixing the real problem. Machiavelli would say, men ruled by lust become pawns in their own kingdom. Numb, distracted, powerless. So ask yourself, are you chasing pleasure or running from pain? You didn't start weak. You had a vision, a real one. You wanted to change your life, build something that would outlast your name, make your family proud, silence every person who doubted you. You were ready to go to war for it. But then came lust, not just in the physical sense, but the constant craving for validation, for escape, for a dopamine hit that didn't require pain, effort, or risk. See, here's the trap. Your goals are delayed gratification. They demand patience, strategy, pain. They test you every single day. But lust is instant payoff. It promises heaven now and leaves you with hell later. That's how kings fall, not by war, not by scandal, but by chasing the next fix instead of the final prize. Lust convinces you that tomorrow still belongs to you, so you waste today again and again until the vision you once had becomes a vague memory, a ghost of the man you were supposed to become. Machiavelli would say, "The man who cannot rule his appetite will never rule anything else." Your enemy doesn't need to chain you. He just needs to distract you. With likes, with late-night texts, with empty praise and pretty faces. And that dream you had, it dies not with a scream, but with a shrug. You simply stop chasing it. Not because it wasn't possible, but because pleasure was easier than purpose. Nobody wants to talk about this part. We glorify the chase, the thrill, the temporary high, but the aftermath, it's silent, dark, and often shameful. You see, lust never gives you what it promises. It promises connection and leaves you hollow. It promises power and leaves you weaker. It promises pleasure, but takes your peace. And it always ends the same way. With silence, with self-disgust, with questions like, what am I doing? Why did I fall for it again? Was this really worth it? You don't feel proud afterward. You don't feel stronger. You feel like something inside you was traded, cheap. That's the thing no one tells you. Lust doesn't just take your time. It steals your self-respect. It chips away at the discipline you built, the vision you believed in, and the man you were becoming. Over time, it becomes a cycle. Crave, act, regret, repeat. And each time, you trust yourself a little less. You look in the mirror, and the reflection gets harder to respect. Machiavelli warned, "He who is conquered by desire is conquered by all." And here's the brutal truth. It's not the act that destroys you. It's the pattern. The inability to walk away, to stay cold, to stay focused. But the good news? You can break it. Not with guilt, not with shame, but with clarity. Lust always ends with regret. But clarity, that's where your power begins. Breaking free from cravings that enslave the world. no longer needing validation, no longer chasing shadows, just calm, clarity, power. While others lose focus at the scent of temptation, you walk through it, untouched, while they give away their strength for a few moments of pleasure. You build strength that can't be shaken. See, killing lust doesn't mean becoming cold or empty. It means choosing mastery over slavery, choosing legacy over momentary escape, choosing you, your will, over your weakness. Because once lust dies, you become a man who cannot be owned, not by women, not by the world, not even by your own desires. That is why men who kill lust become untouchable.